So this finally happened. Some viewers have pointed out the danger of shooting next to a window. Nu, what if you miss? But with my target recurve, I would never miss. I wasn't shooting my target recurve. Now my dad is fairly pissed at me at the moment, and probably fairly so, but accidents do happen. But the harder thing is that I can't explain to him why it happened. Now to him, it's probably because he thinks I'm a really bad shot and I've done something really stupid. I actually know why it happened. I want to explain something to you as a lesson from me. I'm holding my OMP Adventure 2.0. This is a 25-pound bow. I did not have the right arrows for this bow. The arrows that came with it and the arrows I subsequently bought were intended for a 45-pound bow or above. So I actually rarely use this bow. I mostly use my Sage, or now the Bear Takedown, or my Olympic bow. So I haven't used this for quite a while for any serious shooting, and the demonstrations I do are done at very close distance, like literally 3 meters away where you can't miss. I decided that as part of my recent video that I would do a demonstration in this particular shed at a longer distance, and that's of course when I missed. Why did I miss? I wouldn't miss at 10 meters, but my arrows flew in a way that I forgot to compensate for. You see, my arrows are far too stiff for this bow, and I know that. Normally stiff arrows means that they kind of float to the left for a right-handed shooter, but at close distances that isn't always apparent, depends on how well it clears. And I know that my arrows don't clear very well. They do make contact with the riser, and that means they tend to flick to the right at this particular distance. When I did my Polaris review, I did notice that trend at short distance, again at 5 meters. I was shooting center, but the arrows were going to the right. Now if I had the right arrows, it would be tuned and shooting in the middle. So of course when I stepped further back and I shot in the same spot as usual, it went further right than I thought it would. It wasn't a bad shot, but I just completely forgot that this bow and my arrows are not meant to be shot together. So what's my lesson here? Firstly, where you can, find the right arrows for your bow. Many people are tempted to buy the cheapest possible arrows, and often these are the Chinese made fiberglass arrows, which are meant for 10 to 50 pound bows. It's a very broad range. The problem with that is that they are not matched at all with your particular bow, so they will not fly very well. You will notice that fishtailing, that wobble, and it won't hit where you aim. So that's why it's very frustrating to buy cheap arrows. You should try to get a close match. That way you will generally see better consistency and accuracy. The second thing is try to avoid mixing your arrows. Some people have a ton of different arrows which they find lying around, or they've got old arrows and new arrows, and they shoot them in the same quiver and they shoot them with the same bow. This is a very risky thing to do. It's not dangerous necessarily, but it's risky because every shaft and every spine is different. So if you grab a bunch of random arrows and you shoot from your bow, they won't work the same way. Every arrow will have a different flex, it will have a different path, and you will not get good results. You'll find yourself shooting kind of randomly, and you can't really compensate for your point of aim because your next arrow is going to be different. So where possible, try to use arrows from the same set. Otherwise you will get fairly erratic results. That's not what I did here. I do have the same arrows in my quiver, but this is true to anyone who's using mixed arrows. Every arrow will fly differently, so do keep that in mind. And while this won't matter for most people shooting short distances or just learning archery, for target archers this can be quite extreme. For target archers, they'll buy a dozen Eastern X10s and they'll weigh and they'll measure each one for consistent weight and consistent straightness, and anything that is slightly off has to be replaced, and that's a very expensive arrow. Even arrows from different batches may have slightly different qualities and straightness and purities or whatever. So that means that if you buy a dozen from one batch and a dozen from another, they might not be the same. So it gets really crazy at the very top end. But for me, well, I've finally completely missed my target and smashed the window. Nothing really serious, just a big annoyance, and my dad's the kind of person who holds grudges and is very stubborn, so I'm gonna cop a lot of flack in a moment. But yeah, that's why I like doing demonstrations in my club shed rather than here. I've got a much bigger target over there than here, and sometimes demonstrations can go wrong. Sometimes I'm demonstrating bad form or bad technique and intentionally making mistakes. So yeah, I probably should have taken a few more precautions and just done the whole 3-meter thing, but I couldn't miss. But yeah, I didn't screw my shot up. It was a fine shot, I think. But it's just that, like I said before, I completely forgot about my arrows and this bow. And yeah, I'm gonna be in for a hard time tonight. Anyway, this is NUSensei. Hope you learn from my mistakes. See you next time.